think that statement is so absurd. I don't even know how to respond to it. I would just let her clarify that. Did she want to serve up police cars or other public buildings in Baltimore, or public officials like the police, turn them into piñatas for the people to come out and whack at them so that they can get their aggression out of their system? I've never heard a statement like that. I think it's ridiculous.
All right, that was the former Assistant Director of the FBI, Tom Fuentes, on CNN, responding to Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake's remarks that we played earlier, where she said this was 2 days ago, where she was going to give the protesters, the people who wanted to riot, basically, space to do so. People wanted to destroy, space to destroy. Joining us now on the Malzberg panel, Jessica Tarlov, Democratic political consultant, political strategist at Douglas Schoen LLC, and Ford O'Connell, Republican strategist and political analyst. And I know you're under the weather, Ford. Thanks for being a trooper. Let's start with Jessica. Jessica, your response to the way the mayor of Baltimore has handled this so far.
I don't think it's been a stellar job. I mean, these are incredibly tough times, but I think that there were mistakes that were made that she will, in fact, in the end, acknowledge, and that the governor has said, you know, I mean, they should have had a curfew last night for adults. I don't know why you just had a juvenile curfew, especially when, as we were discussing earlier, majority of the rioters were actually adults. I don't know why National Guard wasn't called in earlier. I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of questions, but as to her statement, she obviously misspoke. She was under a lot of pressure. She certainly didn't mean that they wanted to give people the room to destroy property.
She didn't mean it?
No, she didn't mean
what,
that.
She
meant
drunk?
that she wanted to get... She was absolutely not
then
drunk.
Then what do you mean she didn't mean it?
This is political negligence on the part of the mayor. She made this statement on Saturday night as people at the Orioles game were sheltered in place and couldn't leave the stadium. If she really thought she'd made a mistake, she would have walked it back before Monday. She didn't. She got caught up in the politics of the moment because the black community is so important to her being elected, and if she didn't try to find a way to err on balancing on the side of the frustration, she knew that she would wind up losing re-election. She got caught up in the politics of the moment and forgot to protect the residents of Baltimore. And that's what happened. And the governor is just as equally bad as the mayor because he got caught up in her own political game and should have overridden her and sent the National Guard in.
But Ford, the president spoke to the governor, who's a Republican, and he was making a big deal, like, "Ooh, I spoke to the president," and said that the president told him to make sure that the law enforcement acts in a restrained manner. So he kowtowed to the president, and that's what she wanted to do also.
Okay, let's talk about federalism here, Steve. The governor is the head of the National Guard. It's solely his choice to make that call. It's fine that the president was going to back him up on this, which obviously means, once again, you made my point for me. He got caught up in the politics of the moment instead of acting in Maryland's best interest because he got sandwiched between two Democrats.
I mean, Jessica, what happens to the businesses and the people who need those businesses?
I mean, I saw an interview last night with someone who worked in the community center that went up in flames near the CVS that was featured on CNN for 40 hours last night. And he was saying, you know, it took decades to build, and it's going to take decades for Baltimore to recover from this.
All right, does she resign? Does the mayor resign, Jessica?
I don't think so. As I was saying, I'm surprised by the fact that there hasn't been more discussion about it. I'm certainly not calling for her resignation, but I think serious questions are going to be asked about whether she can lead the city.
Should she resign? Will she?
Absolutely not. 63.5% of Baltimore is black. Unless she's challenged in the primary, there's no way she's going to lose re-election.
Oh, very interesting.
But there are a lot of black people in this community who are really angry. We've
Again,
seen a
as
lot
I said,
of
if
parents.
she gets challenged in the primary, Jessica, then she steps
But I'm
down.
saying maybe she will have a primary challenge. Ford.
Well, maybe she will, but she isn't resigning, and that's my point.
All right. Well, very interesting, and we're going to talk about that as we go along, her political future and the way she handled this, which was a disaster. But we have a lot more to talk about when we come back, not the least of which is the Supreme Court hearing the gay marriage issue today. Don't go away. The panel's back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome back the Malzberg panel, Jessica Tarlov and Ford O'Connell. By the way, Ford, the author of Hail Mary, the 10-step playbook for Republican recovery. And by the way, there has been a wonderful Republican recovery all over this great nation. Just look at last November and look at the state houses. And so it worked, Ford. Congratulations. All right, much to the chagrin of Jessica, but let's move on from that. The U.S. Supreme Court heard arguments finally, 2.5 hours of oral arguments on the issue of gay marriage. marriage. 4 cases challenging marriage restrictions in Kentucky, Michigan, Ohio, and Tennessee. And I think what's most interesting here, Jessica, is that the person that most people consider to be the swing vote, Justice Kennedy, said, what right do we have to change the definition of marriage that has been with us for millennia? But then, of course, he went on to talk about how children of couples who need to be married, in his view, or in their view, would be affected. So you still don't know which way he's going to go.
No, and as it should be. I mean, we need to hear all the arguments. This isn't something that should be decided in a few hours.
But it was contentious, and there were varying opinions
which is
on the
great.
court.
Don't you think that that's important, that
Sure.
there's actual discussion there and exchange of ideas on it? I mean, I think, Kennedy being the swing vote, I think that it is going to go in favor of gay marriage in the end. I think it's, public approval, 64% of Americans want this.
Is that how the Supreme Court is supposed to do? Take a poll, stick their finger in the wind?
No, and I don't think that's what I said at all. I'm talking about...
Sure, you said public opinion.
Yeah, but I didn't say that that's what's going to make the Supreme Court rule one way or the other.
And let me say something, Jessica. Is somebody who has a JD and understands the law, my problem here with this whole thing is not whether it's procreation, not whether somebody should be happy or not whether public opinion is right or wrong. My problem is a legal person. It's very simple. Should a judiciary trump the right of the states at the ballot box? We have 13 states where this has been done recently at the ballot box. And this may sound well and good to liberals out there and to young people saying, well, what's right's right should occur. The problem is something near and dear down the line is going to come down to the judiciary doing the same thing when the ballot box has flipped it back. This is a recipe for disaster at the Supreme Court level.
Absolutely. Jessica, why shouldn't it be left up to the people of the states?
I can't comment on that at this point. I'm not necessarily, I haven't taken a stance on whether I think it should only be a states' rights issue or a federal issue at this point. So I'm not willing to speak to that point.
But you want
the United States Supreme Court, and that's what they're arguing. Understand, there's 2 questions here. The Supreme Court saying, does a state have the right to sanction this and license this? And if a state does have the right to sanction and license it, does it have to recognize another state's same-sex marriage? Because remember, we have it in 36 other states. And because of the second question, I actually believe the Supreme Court is going to wind up sanctioning gay marriage. And I think this is a sad day, not because of gay marriage. Gay folks shouldn't be happy. I think this is a sad day because it's a decline of federalism.
Well, I think you're right. I think it'll be a sad day on both counts.
Let me say one more thing, Steve. As a political analyst, I think the ship has sailed on gay marriage. I don't think it's a very persuasive argument to tell a good chunk of the population out there that they have the right to be unhappy. Frankly, I think this was
Wait, Ford. A good chunk of the population? 5% of or less of that are gay, and even less than Ford, and even less than that would want to get married. That's a good chunk of the population. That's a small itsy bitsy piece. I
totally disagree with you, Steve. What's happened here is young people think that this is an emotional thing. And when you tell 9 million people or more, according to UCLA that keeps the statistics on this, they're not going to listen to the Republicans on any other friggin' issue, no matter if we have the cure for cancer. I'm telling you, if you want to win the presidency of the United States, I'm going to tell you right now, voters under 45 support gay marriage, and Republicans better find a way to get on board.
Hey, Ford, what if voters under 45 supported abortion on demand in the same... Wait a minute. Let me finish my question.
Hold on. There's never been an issue in my lifetime that has moved so far so fast. In 1996, 26%.
I'm not asking that. I'm saying, what if the same numbers existed on the right, on the Debbie Wasserman Schultz stance and the Democratic stance on abortion, which is abortion on demand at 9 months? What if that was same population effect and the same popularity, 45 and under? Would you say if we stick to our guns on that, nobody will listen to a friggin' thing we say? Would you say that too?
No, I would not. We have legal precedent on that, and not only that, we also have public opinion on our side.
And that's also not the Democrat stance.
Sure
whatsoever.
it is.
No, it's not.
Sure it is.
Safe,
yes,
legal, and rare. That is the Democrat stance.
No, Debbie Wasserman Schultz spoke for the Democrats.
That is crazy. And Debbie Wasserman Schultz has spoken to that.
Jessica, she said it's between a woman and her doctor, period. That's what she said, over and over and over and over.
And that's abortion on demand at 9 months. That's your translation.
That's anything.
How do those work? Yeah, and do you think that that's what happens?
I'm sorry?
That women, do you think that's what commonly happens?
I
That
don't care
women
if
get
it's
to
common
9
or not.
months or 8
I
months
don't
and
care
30
if it's
days
common
and
or
walk
not.
it?
That's what the Democrats favor.
Absolutely
Between
not.
a woman
That's
and a, well,
so
then you should talk to Debbie
irresponsible.
Wasserman
I'd be
Schultz.
happy to talk to her, but we agree, and that is not what we agree on.
All right, look, I argued with both of you. All right, Ford O'Connell, Jessica Tarlov, always great. Thank you both for being the debut of the Malzberg panel, and it's the new time slot of the show, which is at 5 p.m. Eastern to 7, and of course 2 p.m. Pacific time. All right, up next, Rich Noyes of the Media Research Center will join us. Lots to talk about with him. Don't go away.